Hello friends, as I glide along the Indus River in my canoe, surrounded by the peaceful sounds of water flowing gently, I can't help but think about the far-reaching influence that the river and the cities along its banks had. The people of the Indus Valley weren't isolated. They were part of an extensive network that spanned the ancient world. Today, I want to focus on one of the most significant aspects of this network, the trade between the Indus Valley and Mesopotamia. This wasn't just a trade of goods, it was a vibrant exchange of ideas, technologies, and culture that shaped both civilizations. As I paddle, I imagine the bustling cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, where merchants gathered with goods from across the land, precious stones, textiles, beads, and more. These cities were connected to Mesopotamia through a long trade route that spanned vast distances. But trade wasn't limited to just commodities. The exchange between these two great civilizations was far more complex and meaningful. The interaction between the Indus Valley and Mesopotamia wasn't only about acquiring goods, it was about the flow of ideas, artistic styles, and knowledge. Mesopotamia, known for its advanced technology and culture, had a profound influence on the Indus Valley. I think about how these two civilizations, despite being separated by hundreds of miles, had the ability to connect with one another through the rivers, overland routes, and even by sea. The trade network between the Indus Valley and Mesopotamia was vital not just for the exchange of material goods, but for the sharing of knowledge and cultural elements. As I paddle down the river, I reflect on how this interaction helped shape the Indus Valley civilization and its relationship with the wider world. One of the most significant goods exchanged between Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley was lapis lazuli, a beautiful, deep blue stone. This prized material came from the region that we now call Afghanistan, and it was a symbol of wealth and luxury in both civilizations. It's remarkable to think that such a small item, like a bead made from lapis lazuli, could travel from the mountains of Afghanistan to the markets of Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. These beads, which were often worn as jewelry or sewn into garments, became not only commodities, but symbols of the cultural ties between these two regions. But the exchange wasn't one-sided. Mesopotamian merchants would travel to the Indus Valley to acquire these exotic items. In return, they offered the people of the Indus Valley goods like copper, tin, wool, and even dried dates. These exchanges brought valuable resources into the Indus Valley, which helped fuel their flourishing society. The Indus Valley people were adept at using these materials, integrating them into their everyday life, from metalworking to creating intricate pottery and beautiful textiles. They were not simply consumers of foreign goods. They were innovators who adapted and transformed these materials into something unique. Beyond the exchange of goods, the trade with Mesopotamia also brought new ideas and technologies to the Indus Valley. As I float along the river, I consider how the people of the Indus Valley might have been inspired by the writing systems of Mesopotamia. Though we don't know for certain if they directly influenced the script of the Indus Valley, it's clear that trade facilitated the flow of intellectual and cultural exchange. The Indus people were exposed to new ways of organizing society, writing, and even measuring time. The trading hubs of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro became melting pots of ideas, where innovations from both civilizations could intermingle. One fascinating aspect of the trade was the exchange of knowledge in agriculture and craftsmanship. The people of Mesopotamia, with their advanced irrigation systems, may have influenced the Indus Valley in their approach to agriculture. The use of irrigation to control water and enhance crop production was something both civilizations would have benefited from. As I float along the river, I think about how this knowledge would have transformed agriculture in the Indus Valley, allowing it to sustain a large population and feed the cities that became so central to the civilization. Moreover, the cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were connected in ways that went beyond the practical. Both cities, like their Mesopotamian counterparts, were marvels of urban planning and design. The layout of the streets, the construction of drainage systems, and the organization of public spaces in both regions reflected a shared understanding of the importance of order and cleanliness in a growing urban society. These architectural similarities are not mere coincidences. They reflect how ideas about city planning and governance were exchanged along the trade routes. The trade relationship between the Indus Valley and Mesopotamia also provided an opportunity for both civilizations to grow economically and politically. The wealth generated from this trade allowed the Indus Valley cities to expand and thrive, while the access to valuable goods helped fuel Mesopotamian markets. As I drift further down the river, I think about how trade allowed these two regions to build connections that transcended borders, creating a sense of unity through commerce and mutual exchange. But not all interactions between the Indus Valley and Mesopotamia were peaceful or straightforward. The long journey of goods along trade routes also meant that merchants had to be skilled in negotiation, and perhaps even diplomacy, to ensure that both sides benefited. While we don't know many details about the specific political relationships between the two regions, the presence of similar trade seals and items in both areas suggests that the trade was well regulated and mutually beneficial. The Indus people were not merely passive recipients of goods. They were active participants in a global system, shaping the flow of trade to their advantage. As I continue my journey along the river, I reflect on how important this trade was in shaping the course of history. Without these connections, the Indus Valley civilization might not have reached the heights it did. And while we often think of civilizations as isolated, the story of the Indus Valley shows how interconnected the ancient world truly was. The flow of goods, ideas, and technologies between the Indus Valley and Mesopotamia helped both civilizations flourish, leaving a lasting impact on the world that we can still see today. In our next episode, we will move away from the global connections and focus on something more personal: the daily life of the people who lived in the Indus Valley civilization. What were their homes like? What did they eat? How did they work? And what did they do for fun? Join me as we step into the lives of these ancient people and discover the fascinating details of everyday life in the Indus Valley.